The morning sun filtered through thin curtains, painting streaks of gold across the worn wooden floor of the small rental home. Oliver Hayes stood in front of the cracked bathroom mirror, adjusting his tie with trembling fingers. His reflection revealed tired eyes and a face that hadn't smiled properly in months. In the next room, laughter broke through the stillness. His 8-year-old daughter, Sophie, trying to make a peanut butter sandwich look like a smiley face. For a brief second, he closed his eyes and let that sound anchor him. It reminded him why he was still fighting, even when life had left him bruised and behind on rent. Just 6 months ago, Oliver had been a senior architect at a firm in the city. But after his wife's passing and the mounting hospital bills, his focus had slipped. One missed deadline turned into 2, and soon he was out of a job, a single dad with nothing but a small savings account and a promise to his daughter that everything would be okay. They had moved to the outskirts of town, into a quiet neighborhood that seemed far too elegant for them. Their little rented house stood humbly beside sprawling estates with marble gates and security cameras. Oliver often joked that they were the neighborhood's charity case. That morning, he was late again. Not for work, but for another job interview. The car, a beat-up old sedan that coughed like an old man, refused to start. He sighed deeply, wiping his hands on his shirt as Sophie peeked from the front door, holding her little backpack. "Dad, maybe we can walk?" she said with her small, hopeful voice. He smiled, though exhaustion weighed on his chest. "It's too far, sweetheart. Let's just wait a minute." As if the world had heard his plea, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He hesitated, assuming it was another debt reminder. But something told him to answer. "Hello?" he said cautiously. A calm, refined voice came through. "Hi, is this Mr. Oliver Hayes? My name is Clara Westwood. I believe you're my next-door neighbor." Oliver frowned, wiping grease from his hands. Yes, I suppose I am. Sorry, I didn't mean to bother anyone." "The car," she cut in gently. "Actually, I was calling to ask if you might be available to help me with something today. My housekeeper is out sick, and I need someone to move a few boxes from the garden house. I'll pay, of course." The offer felt like a lifeline. Yes, sure, I can help. I'll be right there," he replied quickly, glancing at Sophie. Maybe he could earn a bit for groceries. Maybe luck was turning, just a little. If you believe kindness can change a life, please like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps us share more stories of hope, second chances, and compassion. The mansion next door looked like something from another world. Tall white columns, manicured hedges, and windows that reflected the morning light like mirrors of heaven. Sophie clung to Oliver's hand as they walked through the open gate. "Dad, it looks like a castle," she whispered. Oliver smiled faintly. "Let's just hope the Queen's nice," he said softly. When the door opened, Clara Westwood stood there, graceful yet grounded. She was in her late 30s, with neatly tied auburn hair and eyes that seemed to carry both strength and sadness. "You must be Oliver," she said with a polite smile. Her voice was calm, deliberate, like someone used to giving instructions. But beneath that tone was something human, a warmth he couldn't quite place. She led him to a small storage area by the garden. "Those boxes go to the main hall," she explained. "It's mostly old books and decorations." Oliver nodded and began working while Sophie played with the flowers near the fountain. For the first time in weeks, the sun felt gentle instead of harsh. As the hours passed, Clara watched quietly. There was something about the way Oliver moved, slow, careful, almost reverent, as though he respected every object he touched. When Sophie offered to help carry a small box, he laughed and said, "Only if you promise not to drop it, partner." The sound of their laughter filled the air, and something in Clara's chest stirred. She hadn't heard laughter in her house for a long time. By afternoon, Oliver had finished. Clara insisted on paying double what he expected. When he refused, she smiled faintly. "Please, you've done more than I asked." Then, almost impulsively, she added, "Would you and Sophie like to stay for lunch?" They hesitated. It felt strange stepping into a mansion that looked like it belonged in a magazine, but the kindness in her eyes broke through their hesitation. The meal was simple, soup, sandwiches, and fresh lemonade, but to Sophie it was a feast. She chatted happily, and Clara listened with genuine interest. When Sophie mentioned missing her mom, Clara's hand froze around her glass. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I lost someone too." The air grew still. For a brief moment, grief recognized grief. Two strangers sitting in the sunlight, bound by the same ache. Over the next few days, Clara began calling Oliver occasionally. Small things at first. Help fixing a leaky tap, lifting furniture, watering her garden. But soon the conversations grew longer. They would talk about books, music, and life before the pain. Clara had once been a successful interior designer in New York, married to a tech entrepreneur. But after her husband died in a car crash 3 years ago, she had moved back to her hometown, building walls, both literal and emotional, around herself. Oliver, too, had his walls. Every time he caught himself laughing with her, he'd feel a pang of guilt, as if being happy again meant betraying his late wife. But Sophie didn't carry that weight. To her, Clara became Aunt Clara, the kind lady who baked cookies and let her paint in the sunroom. Then one Friday the storm came, both outside and within. Oliver received a call from the company he had interviewed with. They had chosen another candidate. His savings were gone. That evening, when he went to Clara's to help move a cabinet, he looked pale, almost defeated. She noticed immediately. "What happened?" she asked. He forced a smile. "Nothing I can't handle." But she saw through him. "Oliver, you don't have to pretend with me," she said softly. And that broke him. He sat down, ran a hand through his hair and whispered, "I'm trying, Clara, I really am. But it feels like every time I take a step forward, something pushes me back. I can't even fix my own car, let alone my life." Without a word, she sat beside him. "You've already fixed more than you know," she said quietly. "You brought laughter back to this house." Her words lingered, but he shook his head. "That's not enough to pay rent." That night she made a decision, one she wasn't sure he'd ever accept. The next morning she called him again. "Oliver, I have a job for you." "A real one," she said. "I'm reopening my design firm. I need someone to manage logistics and oversee projects. You have the skills. I've seen your work." He froze. "Clara, I can't take that. You're just being kind." "I'm being smart," she countered. "I need someone I can trust." The job changed everything. Slowly, Oliver found his confidence again. His shoulders straightened, his laughter came easier. Sophie thrived too, painting beside Clara in the afternoons. The little rental house soon began to feel less like a struggle and more like a home filled with hope. One sunny afternoon, months later, Clara invited them to her garden for tea. Sophie was chasing butterflies while Clara and Oliver sat under the shade of a blooming magnolia tree. "You know," he said quietly, "when you first called, I thought it was a mistake. I didn't realize that one phone call would change everything." Clara smiled, her gaze soft. "Sometimes the universe doesn't make mistakes. It just gives us second chances in strange disguises." There was silence, the kind that feels peaceful, not empty. Oliver looked at her, really looked, and for the first time in years, the heaviness inside him lifted. He reached across the table and gently held her hand. She didn't pull away. Months passed, and the bond between them deepened naturally, not out of pity or loneliness, but out of quiet understanding. Two hearts that had learned loss, finding comfort in each other's light. One evening, as the sun dipped low behind the hills, Sophie tugged at Oliver's sleeve. "Dad," she said with an innocent smile, "if we ever get rich, can we buy a house like Aunt Clara's?" Oliver chuckled softly. "Sweetheart, it's not the house that makes you rich, it's the people inside it." And from behind him, Clara's voice answered gently, "Then I think we're already rich, aren't we?" They all laughed. The sound floated through the golden air like music, the kind that makes you believe that even broken things can become beautiful again. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps us continue spreading stories of love, kindness, and redemption. Special request, comment below. Do you believe second chances come from coincidence or fate?